Something happened in women's basketball that not even the most die-hard analysts saw coming. A single franchise's social media presence was just valued higher than some professional men's teams, and it wasn't even close. We're talking about a $55 million figure. Yes, $55 million of measurable digital value, all generated from posts, clips, and fan engagement on platforms like Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook. When the report dropped, it sent a shockwave through the sports world. Fans, critics, and even players were left asking the same question. How did one team pull this off, and what does it say about the future of the WNBA? That number didn't come from marketing fluff or creative accounting. It came from hard data, tracked by analytics firms and verified by Forbes. And when you look closer, it tells a story that's bigger than basketball. It's about how attention, engagement, and star power are now the real currencies of modern sports. Forget ticket sales for a moment. Forget merchandise. The Indiana Fever's online presence is worth more than 5 times that of the next team in the league. This isn't a gentle lead, it's a digital earthquake shaking up every old assumption about how value in women's sports is measured. To understand what makes this story so explosive, you have to step back and see the timeline. Because the truth is, a few years ago, the Indiana Fever weren't even part of this kind of conversation. They weren't a trending topic. They weren't pulling millions of impressions or setting sponsorship benchmarks. They were a solid franchise, sure, but not the beating heart of social media buzz. And yet here we are, talking about them as the most valuable digital property in the league. Something massive changed, and it started the moment one name appeared on their roster. When the Indiana Fever drafted Caitlin Clark, they didn't just get a basketball player. They acquired a cultural phenomenon. Clark's name had already been echoing across college basketball, drawing record-breaking audiences and dominating highlight reels before she ever stepped onto a WNBA court. She was a walking headline, a player who blended elite-level skill with a rare sense of charisma that made every possession feel like an event. The moment she was drafted, ticket sales surged, merchandise vanished from online stores, and the Fever's follower count exploded across every major platform. What the franchise didn't know yet was that they'd just stepped into a new economic reality, one where digital influence could outweigh even championship banners. Clark's game was already built for viral moments. Her deep three-pointers weren't just shots. They were statements that forced every camera in the arena to stay locked on her. Every clip, every reaction, every slow-motion highlight was content gold. Within weeks of the WNBA season tipping off, her name was trending on social media multiple times per week. It didn't matter whether fans loved her or criticized her, every mention drove engagement, and engagement meant value. Brands started calling, sponsors started paying attention, and suddenly, the Indiana Fever weren't just a team, they were a digital media powerhouse fueled by one player's magnetism. Behind the scenes, analysts were watching these trends unfold in real time. Engagement metrics spiked. Search volume skyrocketed. For the first time, conversations about the WNBA weren't limited to hardcore followers. They were everywhere, from ESPN panels to casual social chatter. Caitlin Clark wasn't just introducing herself to professional basketball. She was redefining the economics of attention. And as her highlights racked up millions of views, the Fever's social media team began to realize something groundbreaking. Their digital presence was becoming one of the most valuable assets in all of women's sports. Then came the report that silenced every debate and crushed every theory. Forbes, alongside analytics giants STN Digital and Zoom Analytics, released a full-scale insight study on the WNBA's social media value. The results weren't just surprising. They were devastating for every team not named the Indiana Fever. The report valued the Fever's social presence at $55.04 million. A figure so high it nearly broke the charts. To put that in perspective, the second-place team, the Dallas Wings, came in at $8.61 million. That's not a close race, that's a canyon. The Fever's online worth was 5 times greater than their nearest competitor. Those numbers weren't guesses. They came from tracking over 20,000 posts across multiple platforms and calculating what that exposure would cost if a brand tried to buy it through paid advertising. Think about that for a second. A single WNBA team generating $55 million of organic digital value, and it wasn't from championship wins or blockbuster trades. It came from clicks, comments, shares, and watch time. One of the most jaw-dropping metrics revealed that a single YouTube video from the Fever's official channel had an estimated media value of $733,594. One clip, worth nearly $750,000. That's more than the entire season's value for some other teams. It's the kind of data that makes corporate sponsors sit up straight and reevaluate everything they thought they knew about the economics of women's sports. The methodology behind the report was meticulous. It analyzed impressions, engagement rates, cost per thousand views, CPM, and brand interaction potential. In simpler terms, it quantified attention. Every double tap, every comment thread, every repost had a dollar sign attached to it. And when you stacked the Fever's totals next to the rest of the league, the difference was beyond comparison. It was domination. It proved what fans had been saying all along, that Caitlin Clark wasn't just a player. She was an engine of visibility, a walking marketing multiplier who could shift the trajectory of an entire franchise. The $55 million valuation isn't just a fun statistic. It's a wake-up call to every sports executive, sponsor, and marketer paying attention. That number represents influence, leverage, and long-term potential. When the Indiana Fever walk into sponsorship meetings now, they don't need to pitch their value. They can show it, backed by hard data. Every time Caitlin Clark posts, every time a Fever highlight goes viral, that's real monetary value being generated without a single dollar spent on traditional advertising. It's a shift from the old sports economy, where wins and championships defined worth, to a new one where engagement, visibility, and fan loyalty are the true currency. For the WNBA, this changes everything. The league has long battled for mainstream relevance, constantly compared to larger, better-funded sports ecosystems. But the Fever's social media dominance proves that star power can do what years of PR campaigns couldn't: make people care. This isn't about equality statements or marketing slogans. It's about measurable results. When you have one player generating billions of impressions and dominating online attention, brands can no longer ignore the WNBA's market potential. It opens doors for new partnerships, sponsorships, and digital collaborations that didn't even exist before. It also raises uncomfortable questions about how the league compensates and promotes its biggest stars. And it's not just about numbers. It's about culture. Caitlin Clark has become a digital phenomenon that transcends basketball. She's brought in casual fans, sparked rivalries, and driven a conversation that keeps the WNBA trending week after week. Her presence has made the Fever appointment viewing, both on and off the court. That kind of impact can't be manufactured through marketing teams. It's organic, authentic, and powerful. For the Fever, it means long-term growth. For the league, it's proof that one player can be the catalyst for a new era. For every young athlete watching, it's a message that visibility and personality can be as game-changing as performance itself. The ripple effects of this report stretch far beyond the Indiana Fever. What it really exposes is a seismic shift in how sports franchises should think about value creation. For decades, success was measured in wins, titles, and ticket revenue. But in today's digital era, attention is the true scoreboard, and Caitlin Clark just proved that one player can single-handedly tilt the balance of an entire league. The Fever's $55 million social valuation is not just a number. It's a blueprint for the future of sports marketing. It shows that if teams invest in storytelling, accessibility, and player-driven content, they can generate exponential returns without ever stepping off the court. The Las Vegas Aces, reigning champions and one of the WNBA's most dominant on-court teams, finished third in social media value. That's a staggering reminder that winning games doesn't always mean winning online. Fans crave connection more than they crave scoreboards. They want personalities, behind-the-scenes glimpses, and authenticity. The Fever understood that. They gave their audience exactly what they wanted: Caitlin Clark content, constantly. Every post became a conversation, every clip a headline. It's a strategy that other teams can learn from, but it's also a reminder that not every franchise has a player capable of generating that kind of gravitational pull. The broader implication is that the economics of women's sports are being rewritten in real time. Sponsors no longer have to guess whether investing in the WNBA will yield returns. They can see the numbers for themselves. When one team generates billions of impressions, that's proof of concept. It also means players who can move the digital needle deserve to be compensated accordingly. The salary cap may still be modest compared to other leagues, but data like this strengthens the argument for higher pay and better endorsement opportunities. In other words, this isn't just about the Fever winning on social media. It's about changing how the entire industry values visibility, fandom, and influence. Of course, not everyone is celebrating this digital revolution. The $55 million figure has reignited a heated debate among fans, analysts, and even former players about whether the WNBA is becoming too dependent on one star. Some critics argue that the Caitlin Clark effect has overshadowed other talented athletes who've been grinding in the league for years. They claim that the hype is unsustainable, that once the novelty fades, engagement will flatten. Others, however, see this as evolution, not imbalance. They argue that every great sports era has been defined by its icons. Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Lionel Messi. Caitlin Clark is simply the latest in a long line of athletes who turned personal brilliance into collective opportunity. But behind that debate lies a more complex question. Can the WNBA keep up with the momentum? The Fever's content team has been relentless, pushing out highlights, reactions, and moments that keep fans locked in daily. Yet some insiders worry about burnout, not just for Clark, but for the league itself. When one player carries the weight of a sport's visibility, the stakes rise dramatically. Injuries, slumps, or even social fatigue could shift the narrative overnight. And as much as the data celebrates her impact, it also exposes a vulnerability. The league's newfound popularity hinges heavily on one name. That's a risky balance in a competitive digital landscape that thrives on constant novelty. Then there's the speculation about what comes next. Will the Fever leverage this dominance into higher revenue, or will other teams finally catch up by adapting their strategies? Will more brands enter the WNBA ecosystem now that real financial metrics prove its marketing power? The answers depend on how the league chooses to evolve. If it embraces star-centric storytelling and invests in digital-first content, the growth could compound. But if it tries to dilute Clark's influence to maintain balance, it risks slowing the very momentum that's bringing new fans in droves. One thing's for sure, this isn't just a moment, it's a movement. And whether you love or hate it, Caitlin Clark's impact has forced everyone to rethink how fame, fandom, and financial value collide in modern sports. The numbers don't lie, and they don't exaggerate. The Indiana Fever's $55 million social media valuation is more than just a headline. It's a declaration that women's sports have entered a new financial and cultural era. Caitlin Clark didn't just lift a team, she redefined the equation of value in professional basketball. Every like, comment, and share translated into tangible economic power, proving that engagement is no longer a side effect of fame, it is fame. The Fever have shown that storytelling, accessibility, and authenticity can build empires faster than trophies ever could. And in doing so, they've set a precedent every franchise, in every sport, will now try to follow. But perhaps the most fascinating part is what this means for the future. Will we see a new generation of players modeled after Clark? Athletes who are not only skilled on the court but also fluent in digital influence? Will the WNBA finally restructure its economics to reward marketability the same way it rewards performance? The data has made one thing clear: star power is measurable, and it's worth millions. For those still clinging to the old narratives about equal attention and balanced recognition, this report is an uncomfortable but undeniable truth. Visibility isn't evenly distributed, and it never was. The Fever's dominance proves that attention is earned, not assigned. So, if you've made it this far, you clearly see what's happening beneath the surface. The business of sports is being rewritten right before our eyes. The least you can do is stay ahead of it. Hit that subscribe button to join a community that breaks down stories the mainstream won't. Smash the like button if you want to see more deep dives like this, and drop a comment below with your take. Do you think one player should have this much influence over an entire league? Your opinion matters more than you realize, and every interaction helps this channel keep uncovering the real numbers, the real impact, and the truth behind the headlines. Stay tuned, because the next chapter in the WNBA's evolution is only just beginning.